I'm Jen Eklund, part of the ISB education team, and I'm going to show you how to make spheres using direct spherification. You're going to need a few ingredients, a tasty liquid. Today I have got beet juice with a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of honey that I think is going to go really nicely with some Washington apples. I chose this because I want a liquid that's not too acidic and a liquid that doesn't already have calcium in it. I've also got here some sugar and some sodium alginate. So let's get to work making our first solution. We're going to start by measuring out 1 tablespoon of sugar into a small bowl. I'm going to measure ½ teaspoon of sodium alginate into that same small bowl. And then I'm going to, using a metal spoon, mix those together. This is going to help the sodium alginate to disperse in my tasty liquid so that I don't get clumpy with my sodium alginate. Okay, those mixed together. I'm going to distribute them over the top of my tasty liquid. And then today I'm going to use an immersion blender, but you can use whatever blending device you have at home. A hand blender, immersion blender like mine, food processor, whatever you have to blend things up really fast. You're going to want to blend for about 2 minutes. Once you've got that blended, you'll notice that your solution has gotten a little cloudy. The alginate is starting to hydrate. But you'll also notice that you've got a lot of bubbles. In order to form spheres, you're going to want the alginate to fully hydrate, and you're going to want those bubbles to disperse. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover this and put this in the refrigerator for about 24 hours. So I'm going to do that, and we'll come back in about 24 hours for the second step of this process. Okay, we're back for day 2. You'll notice that my solution is not quite so cloudy. The alginate seems to have hydrated, and the bubbles have dispersed. So we're ready to make our spheres. In order to do that, we're going to need a calcium lactate bath. We'll start by measuring out 1.25 cups of water. I'm putting this into a drinking glass, but you could measure it into a bowl or another container. I'm using the drinking glass because I think it'll help you see the spheres as they form in just a minute. You'll measure a teaspoon of calcium lactate into the water. And then stir until the calcium lactate dissolves. Once your calcium lactate is dissolved, you're ready to start making spheres. Today, I'm going to use a small, food-grade, safe pipette. I'm going to suck up a small amount of my alginated, tasty liquid. Remember my beet juice with cinnamon and honey? And then slowly, drop by drop, a couple of inches above the surface of the calcium lactate bath, I'm going to put it into calcium lactate. You'll see the drops form individual spheres as they sink, most of them, to the bottom of the glass. If you don't have a pipette, you can use a syringe or a straw. Maybe you'll experiment with spoons or some other device in your kitchen to move the alginate to the glass. Or maybe you are more creative and have some amazing idea about how you're going to move the alginate into your calcium lactate bath, and you'll engineer a new way to make spheres. Okay, so that's a pretty good number of spheres to start with. Give them about 60 seconds for that chemical reaction to happen, for the spheres to solidify in the calcium lactate bath. And then, because the calcium lactate doesn't taste very good, you're going to want to find a way to get those spheres out of your calcium lactate bath. And because, one second, you're going to want to keep your calcium lactate bath for later use, because of course you're going to want to make more spheres. You're going to want to keep that calcium lactate bath. So I pour my calcium lactate bath through a strainer and into another container. Like I said, the calcium lactate bath doesn't taste very good, so we're going to want to give these just a little bit more of a bath. You can rinse these in your sink. In this case, I'm just going to pour some fresh water over my spheres and back into my measuring cup. And now, I've got these nice spheres ready to eat, ready to put back with my Washington apples, my beet cinnamon spheres. Hope you have a good time doing some science and experimenting, making your own protocol for making spheres in your kitchen.